This is Formula SAE FastCast, the official podcast of the Formula SAE series. Hey guys, welcome to Formula SAE FastCast. I'm Mike Sorg, the podcast and video producer with the SAE CDS series. And we're here talking with some SAE Formula teams of years past about their experiences and going into the new season. And we have in studio with us Ryan Good, University Programs Coordinator of Formula SAE. How you doing?
How's it going, everybody?
So I guess, like Ryan, we have a lot of questions for these guys that kind of get in the head of people have done this for that they're doing this here and getting ready for the season here. So let's get right into it.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, well, the reason for this podcast is we kind of want to go through with teams on what they can expect when they come to Formula SAE, what different teams have to go through. So we wanted to bring some of these teams in today and kind of talk with them and have them tell us all about their experiences that they've had in the past and kind of what they do to get prepared.
All right, guys, on the line from University of Texas Arlington's Formula team, we have, first of all, Chris Dunn with us. How you doing, Chris?
Good. How are yourself today?
Excellent. And, of course, their faculty advisor, Dr. Bob Woods. How you doing?
Great. Good morning to you.
Awesome. And, of course, Ryan, I know you got a lot of great questions for these guys to find out what they're doing out there.
So let's get this kicked off, guys. Why don't you tell me about how University of Texas Arlington became University of Texas Arlington Formula Racing?
Well, we started out in Mini Baja starting in about 1974, I believe it was. And I'm 78. And we did that for 10 years. We won that 6 times. And then simultaneously, we switched over to Formula SAE. And in that day, we could run a car for 2 years. And so some years we had 2 Mini Bajas and 2 Formula cars in the same year. But we finally stopped doing the Mini Baja and just concentrated on Formula SAE.
So you guys started off as a Baja team and then went into Formula. You guys had the 2 cars going at one time. So that was probably a lot going on at that time for you guys.
It was pretty busy. And we also did a hybrid car in the 90s and a compressed natural gas. And so my wife almost divorced me.
Oh, my. Yeah, Dr. Bob Woods, I was actually told that you've been around since the inception of Formula SAE. Is that correct?
I've been around for Formula SAE every year except the very first year. And first 2 years, we entered our Mini Baja cars modified to look like Formula cars. But after that, we got into the real Formula cars.
Oh my! So tell me about the changes you've seen over the year with Formula, the enhancements that has been going on with this program.
Well, it's interesting. We have every car we've ever built. I've sold 6 of them to team captains, but they're still around and we have access to them. But it's very interesting to see the evolution. We actually have the 84 car sitting here, and you can look at the evolution between it and the newest cars. And they were pretty simple back in the day. And today's cars are pretty sophisticated.
Geez. So when are you guys going to be opening up the University of Texas Arlington Museum of Formula Cars?
We have it pretty well open already. We have a showcase room and we have a machine shop and so forth. We have several cars in the building, and then we have several cars in storage.
Oh my gosh. So you guys have come a long way over the years. You guys have been involved with Formula, but let's talk about last year. How was on site at Formula SAE Lincoln for your team last year? I know you guys did pretty well.
Last year was great for us. We ended up 5th overall at Lincoln, which was a really great turnout for us. I know we were disappointed that it wasn't first place, but we were pretty happy with the car overall. The overall experience was absolutely phenomenal. It was actually my first competition to be able to go to. So being able to go out there and see all the different teams, all the different methodologies that go into building one of these Formula cars was absolutely fantastic.
All right. So, Chris, you said that was your first year. Are you a sophomore, junior, or senior?
I'm a junior this year.
You're a junior as a team leader. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was a really big deal for me to take this position this year, but I was really looking forward to it, seeing how I could help the team. This is where I thought I could put my best effort in for the team.
All right. So my question then is for Dr. Bob Woods. How did you determine who your team leader was going to be this year?
Well, we sort of look at the people that we have available to us and what experience they have and what their personality is. And Chris really came to the top as the best candidate. And so we selected him, and the team is very happy with him, and everything's running very smoothly.
Speaking about things going smoothly, I know registration can be kind of difficult for a few teams. So, Chris, why don't you tell me about your registration process with your team?
Registration process for us was pretty easy for us, fortunately. Being a top 10 team last year, we were able to get registration done a week early. So we determined early on that we just wanted to go to Lincoln. We did not want to go up to Michigan. So with that advanced week where we had to sign up, we just went in and got that handled early. Didn't have to worry about getting on the wait list or anything like that. So that was really, it made it very nice on me not having to be stressed about being on the wait list or anything.
No, I completely understand. The wait list for some teams is a little nerve-wracking. But why did you guys choose just to go to Formula SAE Lincoln and not the other two Formula events that we have?
Well, Formula SAE Michigan comes during our finals, and the weather's usually not as bad, as good, and the drive's a little bit further. We actually prefer the concrete of Lincoln and the better weather, shorter trip. So we prefer to go to Lincoln.
We were talking about the registration process. Chris, how's it been so far affiliating your teams to the roster, the Fast Track roster?
The Fast Track roster, I actually have not gotten around to that too much yet. But as far as adding people to the Formula SAE team on the site, it's not too bad. We've had a couple little snafus with people trying to get that logged in, but mostly that's just getting people on there right now to work on cost report.
Okay, yeah, I know some teams do struggle trying to get affiliated to their roster, and I just want to see like how you guys have been handling that so far, and if you guys have had any struggles. And you said you've run into a few errors so far. If you don't mind, what kind of errors have you guys been running into?
Just working with people. So typically whenever someone wants to get added to the roster, I'll sit down with them one-on-one since I've done it before and just kind of walk them through the process so that doesn't happen. But whenever somebody goes off and tries to do it on themselves, on their own, they'll sometimes just put in the wrong login information. I believe last week we had a team member that was trying to get added to the list, and they were having issues, and I just had to go sit down with them, and they were just putting in, they thought I had to give them a password or something, and it was just the password they created for themselves. So just little misunderstandings like that from people that aren't used to the system. We haven't had any major technical difficulties with it.
Is this for FSAE Online or is this for SAE.org?
SAE Online.
So we were talking about your team members, how they are trying to get affiliated. How do you go about recruiting members of your team, and what kind of field of study are you looking for with acquiring team members?
As far as fields of study that we go for, we are open to any and all majors here. We actually really appreciate the diversity that different majors can bring to the team. If you get an entire team of mechanical and aerospace engineers, the entire competition is not just an engineering competition. You have the business aspects to it. You have the logistical aspects to it that are very, very critical that I think a lot of people overlook. So we have a couple business majors on the team. They're really helping us out with cost report as well as the business presentation. We're really getting prepared for that. So having that diversity of ideas from different backgrounds really helps us out. As far as recruiting goes, we have an on-campus activity fair once a semester that we participate in. We actually bring one or two of the Formula cars out. We put them out there. The amount of students that walk by and just get drawn in by the cars is absolutely outstanding. I know I love standing out there during the activity fair and just interacting with the student body and just getting people interested about the cars, knowing that it's just students that do this. You don't have to have any prerequisites in order to be a part of this organization.
Okay, that sounds great that you guys are able to recruit your members that way. When you guys talk about splitting up the workload here, you're talking about bringing in business majors to help with the cost report, the presentation scenario. Tell me about, do you send engineer students in for those, or do you is it strictly your business?
In years past, we have had engineering students do the business portions of it. Last year, myself and another engineer were actually the two people that gave the business presentation because last year we weren't as diverse as we are this year. But as far as cost report goes, the way that we typically handle that is that those people, the business people this year, are in charge of the cost report. but each individual system lead does do their part in order to make sure that it's not a few people taking the entire workload of cost report, because making sure that entire document is right is a real pain, and just the amount of man hours that go into that is really impressive.
All right. Hey, that sounds great. And the one thing that you just mentioned now that I kind of want to touch base on, you said you have different leads. So you have different leads for each event?
Different leads for each system.
What is the leadership like for your team?
We have a tier down structure. So at the top is myself as team captain and chief engineer. I'm mostly in charge of the logistics of everything, making sure that the team stays on schedule, while the chief engineer is more concerned with technical aspects, making sure that the car ends up with four wheels, actually. But going down from there, each subsystem on the vehicle has its own lead. So if we have an issue or a problem with the system, or we just have a question, we have that one person that we can go to that we know has all the knowledge about that one individual system that we can go to and rely on their info.
This is your second year with the team as the lead. What did you learn from last year's leader that kind of inspired you, or that you also wanted to bring to your team this year?
Last year's team captain was actually our suspension lead this year. He's absolutely phenomenal. Him and I have really grown in friendship since I've taken on this role, and I've really talked to him a lot about some of the issues that I've been having as team captain, whether that just be getting people into the shop, making sure stuff stays on schedule, getting orders out, just various things like that. So him and I have really interacted a lot to make this year go as smoothly as we can.
Perfect that you guys have that great camaraderie between the two of you, and that you guys are able to work together like that. The more communication you guys have between team members, the better your team is going to be able to do. So what is the goals that you guys have set out for your team this year?
Goals for this year, the really big one that we had for this year was staying on schedule. One thing that has just plagued us as a program in the past is just falling behind schedule, and I wanted to make sure that really did not happen this year. So our goal for this year was actually to have a full competition-ready car by spring break, which we are absolutely outstanding that we are as far as we are right now, and it looks like we will actually be able to meet that goal.
How does your team actually go about acquiring sponsorships? And when you do acquire these sponsorships, because you guys have been participating year after year, how do you keep these sponsorships?
Well, we have had, as you say, sponsorship that's continuous. We have numerous sponsors, and I sort of do most of this sponsor contact. Sometimes they like to work with the faculty. Sometimes they like to work with the students. But as I say, we've got a lot of continuing sponsors, and as our recognition grows, we have more people willing to help us.
Let's touch base on actually with the faculty advisor right now, Chris. What has Dr. Woods meant to your team, and what is the importance of having a faculty advisor?
Dr. Woods means a lot to this team. Going back to earlier, how he's been around Formula SAE since its beginning, actually helped write the rule book. Having that resource at our disposal is absolutely outstanding. I cannot emphasize enough how important Dr. Woods is to this program, from whether it be interacting with sponsors, as you said, just helping us out as far as design choices, making sure that we don't make a horrible mistake in something. He keeps us in check every step of the way. Being around this for as many years as Dr. Woods has, he's absolutely outstanding to have on the team.
I always have emails coming through from different teams asking me if a faculty advisor is needed to be on site. And I know Dr. Woods is there on site for your team. Tell me, what's the importance of that?
Well, I actually wrote that rule when I wrote the rules back in 80-something. But I think it's important that some teams, get a little bit unruly, and you need a little bit of oversight. So the faculty advisor is going to be watching over them. And sometimes the faculty needs to interact with the judges and the officials, because the students sometimes can get a little bit emotional. And so it's just a smoothing effort that it should be there.
All right. So with everyone planning their travels to come to Lincoln, the faculty advisors, the students, how do you guys plan your travels?
As far as planning our travels go, the team members themselves, we are fortunate enough that we rent 2 vehicles to go up there and just drive up there. We have one just 15-passenger van, which the majority of the team members go in, that we drive up there. And then as well as we get a big truck that we can tow our trailer with up to Lincoln, and that whoever can't fit in the passenger van fits into there. So as far as logistics for that, it's just getting the rental car figured out for us. So that's not too bad. Then we always have one hotel that we stay in up there that Dr. Woods handles the reservations on. So we just make sure that we get those reservations made in plenty of time so we don't have any issues with that.
When you guys are making your reservations for your stay up there, do you guys try to come up a couple days early, a week early, or?
We usually come up just one day early so that we have a full night's sleep before the early registration. We don't have a lot of time to spare, and so that's the way we plan it.
How are the jitters for the new team members coming up, Chris? I know you were a first-year member last year for your team. So how was that first night coming up there for you guys? Were you out there working your vehicles? What all was going on? What's going through your head at that time?
The drive up there, I was absolutely just ecstatic the entire time. Working so long and so many late nights to get that car to the point that it was at in the trailer. It was absolutely outstanding to actually finally be able to go to the competition to show other schools and other people what we'd actually been able to do with our resources here. We fortunately did not have any work to do on the car whenever we got up there. We just had to slightly disassemble it to get it into the trailer. So whenever we rolled up to Lincoln the next morning, we got out, unloaded the trailer, put our wings on, put our under tray on, and we were ready to go.
Well, you were talking about those late nights you had trying to prepare for this. So tell me, how many late nights do you usually have working on this vehicle? How much work do you have to put in for this?
Myself personally, I'm probably looking at about 40 to 60 hours a week on top of just normal class load and stuff, just trying to be here, get as much stuff done. Late nights, there are way too many that I'd care to count.
Oh my, yeah. I know there's a lot of work that goes into this, especially being a team captain. I know that you're constantly having to look over everybody, make sure everything's in order. As you said, handling the logistics of everything. So speaking about having all that, you're overworking everything and you're taking care of everything. How has your university handled your team, and has there been any obstacles that you've had to overcome?
Actually, the university has tremendous support for us, all the way from department chairman, the dean, the president, the provost, the chief of police, vice president. Everyone is just so enthusiastic about what we do that we get all the support that we could possibly imagine. Now, we don't really use much school funds to build the car. We let the university pay for travel, but we build the car with sponsor donations and in-kind donations for building parts and so forth. So we have a great support system here. And I think it's interesting, some of the starting teams, haven't really figured, the administration hasn't really figured out how significant this is for recruiting, because basically everybody on the team says they came here to join the team. So it's a tremendous recruiting tool. And finally, our university has figured all that out.
Having the university's backing is always a really step up for, especially for these rookie teams if they can get it. What are some common misconceptions that some new teams might see when they come in? I know you guys have been around for a while, so you guys might see some of these teams coming onto site. And what are some things that you guys have seen that these teams did not expect?
Well, I think we actually mentor a lot of teams. I've traveled to, I think it's 12 different universities and helped get them started. The advice we always give them is don't do too much. Don't try to do aero. Don't try to do fancy electronics. Learn the basics. And once you have a car that's reliable and you know how to tune it and how to drive it, then start thinking about the fancy things. So that's my biggest advice, because most people, they want to, really soup up the engine, turbochargers. They want to do aerodynamics. They want to do electronic dash and stuff like that. And that's really not what you should be doing. The first year, you should build a car that hopefully will get points in every event. If you do that, you're an absolute success. So keep it simple. Learn to to build the car, learn how to drive it, learn how to tune it, learn how to make it reliable, then start doing the extra stuff.
All right. What are some lessons that your team has actually learned the hard way? I know we were talking about some of these new teams coming in and what they had to learn the hard way, but what about you guys? What have you guys had to learn the hard way?
Well, I think every year, except for this year, we seem to take on a little bit too much and get behind and not have enough time with the car before we go to the competition. And you'd think that we'd learn that every year. We come back from the competition, they say, we ain't never going to do that again. And sure enough, we do. And so I think we finally have learned, to build the car on time, make it just good enough, and have more time with it so it's reliable and we know it's well tuned. There's also been a lot of other things that we've tried that didn't work out at all, and we didn't do that again.
Well, being a legacy team that you guys are, do you find yourself coming across other challenges? Maybe judges are expecting more, or you guys want to see major changes?
Well, I think learning how to deal with the judges is sort of an ongoing process. The judges may be different every year. One year they'll like something, the next year they won't. So you don't really know. But learning how to engage the judges, get them to ask you the questions that you want to talk about, and to bring up subjects that you want to emphasize. It should be more interactive instead of just passive. Don't just let the judges ask a question and answer that question and be done with it. Try to engage them into the areas you want to talk about. So that is a thing that we struggle with from year to year.
So you guys being a legacy team that you guys are, I do have one final question for you is, what is the best advice you can give to these other teams?
Well, as I said, the best advice to the other teams is don't take on too much. Don't ever try to attempt something that you don't have the facilities or the funds or the knowledge for well in hand. And so keep it simple and progress. For several years, the guy said, we want wings. And I said, until you can drive that car to its absolute limit and need to go faster, then we'll talk about wings. But until then, don't talk about it. And so something like 5 years later, we put on wings and they went faster.
So progress as you go. Keep it simple and build on.
There you go. And many people have said this is a competition of management as much as it is of engineering. And most of the engineers want to go crazy with, oh, I've designed this, I can make it a little bit better. Give me a little bit more time. Oh, I have a new design, I want to make it better. And at some point you have to say, this is good enough. Let's learn to optimize this and learn the best from it. And that's what you have to do in industry as well. At some point you just have to draw a line and say, it's good enough, let's go.
All right. So Dr. Woods, you were talking about this and talking about the competition. I know some teams have said that being a competition, that they came in actually thinking it was just a competition. Something that we've noticed with students over time is that they realize this is more of an educational competition than anything. What have you told your students about that?
Well, of course, this is the best possible engineering education they can get. Whenever you give a student a homework problem where the method is outlined in the book and you know what the answer is, and he turns the crank and gets the answer, you're not really learning. You're learning how to turn the crank. But until you're faced with a problem that you motivated yourself how to solve and you don't know what the answer is, and you don't know someone that does know the answer, that's when true learning occurs. And that's what's fantastic about Formula SAE is that these guys design something, then they have to design it within mind. They're going to build it in the shop. They don't need all the fancy fillet radiuses everywhere. And they have to build it, and they have to worry about how much it costs and how they can repair it. And so that's true learning. That's exactly what industry wants out of these students.
Well, I appreciate you guys' time today, and thank you, Chris, and thank you, Dr. Woods, and obviously thank you to University of Texas Arlington for your time.
Well, thank you for having us today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
And on the line, our friends from Alabama A&M team. We have Adedotun and Arbion. How you guys doing out there?
Doing well. How about you?
We're good. We're good.
All right, so Adedotun, could you tell me how did your team do last year on site?
So last year was actually our first year at the competition, and we had collaborated with another university, uh, Hebei University of Technology from China, actually. And so it was really a good experience, and we learned a lot. We saw the teams and what it took to actually build your car, compete in the competition, give your presentations. And it was a really warm environment because all the teams were very encouraging and helpful and gave us a lot of advice to use for the years to come.
Tell me, how did your team actually begin, the organization? I see you were telling us that you collaborated with another university. Tell us how that was handled and how it became organized.
Around 2014, I believe, our dean, Dr. Chance Glenn, he met with the president of SpaceX. And as I recall, she had mentioned to him something about FSAE. And so Dr. Glenn decided that that should be something that A&M looks into and tries to develop a team for that. And so last year, I believe, was our first year incorporating it into our projects division here at A&M. And so that was kind of our first run through of it. And this year is our first year actually going to the competition and competing solely by ourselves.
Oh, so you guys will not be collaborating this year with the other university?
No, this year we'll be building the car ourselves, giving the presentation ourselves.
All right, that sounds great. Tell me about your how you guys did with the different events last year. How did you guys prepare for those, and what kind of feedback did you get from the judges last year?
Last year was a really learning experience from us. We got really great feedback from the judges. It was really constructive, and they was mentioning to us it was our first year, so uh, we got some criticism that we needed, some helpful stuff that we needed for uh, coming into this year. And the events that we did last year, so we actually handled the report side of the competition last year. So within the A&M university group side of the project, we set certain people to do certain presentations and uh, present like their cost and business and design reports. We did set certain people to do that. And overall, the whole experience for the A&M team was a really great learning experience. I'm really glad we did it that way. And so when we coming into this year, we can get the ball rolling and start out on a high note this year.
So last year, you guys actually didn't build the car; it was the other university did, and you guys handled the document side of it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a great way to get started off. Get your feet wet, get in there and get going. So you guys said you guys are gonna get the ball rolling for this year. So how did preparation for registration week go for your team? I know that could be a little bit stressful with all the teams all at once trying to get on there. So tell me how that went for you guys.
Yeah, so we actually utilized some of our team members, and that day for registration, we were all in the room with our laptops out. And as soon as the time hit, we all tried to get on there and register. And one of our team members was able to get in there. We were able to enter in all the information required, and we were able to get registered. So it was a bit nerve wracking because we wanted to make sure we were one of those teams that got in, but at the end of the day, we got in.
Just spam clicking that button hard. Like we was nervous and excited all at the same time. Everybody was jittery and everything, and it was a cool experience for us.
And you guys are only going to Formula Michigan this year, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys looking to expand that in the future? Look, going to other Formula competitions?
Yes. So Baja. Uh, Baja was very interesting to me. I actually did some research on it, and that's the next project that I wish we could work on. Is I actually fell in love with it. It's pretty cool. So in the next years to come, I think Baja is going to be our next step, and then the electric car for Formula.
Oh, the electric
And
car for
so we'll
Formula.
just
Okay.
see where that goes.
No, that's great. We're gonna be we have already expanded that into Formula SAE North this year with our electric vehicles. So That's definitely going to be a great opportunity for you guys. So tell me, how did your team go about acquiring team sponsorships?
So Arbion and I actually sat down and we had a proposal that was used for like the project division that we used we took it and we kind of renovated it to be strictly for SAE, and we had about uh, 6 pages in the proposal where we just kind of listed what the project was, what our team is doing going into this year and towards the project, our timeline, listing uh, when we would get each system done and how we're preparing for the competition in Michigan. And then we just listed our budget, and we've been utilizing our dean, his resources, and getting that out there as much as we can. Uh, Also, at the career fair, we talked to a lot of the different companies that came to see us about Formula SAE and asked them if they would like to sponsor us or provide any support in any way. And also, when our students go to different conferences, they make sure to uh, mainly our team members on the team. They make sure to talk to the companies that they talk to. We've actually been able to get some help through that as well. Uh, I know one of our team members went to Baya. None of our team members went to the Nesby conference back in the fall. So we've just been, as much as we can, reaching out to whoever is able to provide support.
Hey, that sounds great. How's the success been so far? You guys getting a lot coming in?
Yeah, we have a couple good companies that we're hoping to reveal on the car, putting our stickers on there. So
How'd that go last year for you guys? Being a rookie team last year, were you guys aware of going after the sponsorships, or did you guys just start to acquire that last year when you guys were at the competition?
So last year at the fall career fair, Denzo had reached out to us, and they had they had put in some really good money for us. They actually helped us out. They knew that we were starting up, and knowing that we was going to be the only other HBCU there, they wanted to partner with us, and so uh, they they really helped us out last year. They gave us a good amount and got us up there, let us learn, and it was really helpful.
If you guys don't mind me asking, what is your budget for this project with your team?
we had a budget of about 42,000. That's neglecting the travel cost.
Oh, geez. So you guys have a big goal in mind, and I'm really hoping that you guys are able to reach that for sure.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So you guys brought up your team members about how they go to different conferences. So how do you guys go about recruiting members of your team?
Back when school started in about August, we held a general body meeting allowing students from the different colleges here on campus to come and hear about our experience at SAE last year, and then basically explain to them what goes into the competition, how much time it requires. And so we actually had them fill out applications, and we took those applications, read about their experience, read about what they could put forward into the team, and we selected about 20, 25 students between that margin. And we've been working with them since about September. That was when we sent out the acceptance letters. And so those students they were mainly engineering students. We were looking for a couple business, but we do have some engineering students with business backgrounds that will be able to help us with the reports. So just and then also dividing that workload, we looked at what systems they were most interested in, and what areas they would be able to utilize their skills.
All right, so you guys have a few business majors on your team, a few engineering majors on your team. So what has the leadership been like for the two of you guys? I know being a newer team, it's a big role to take on, big responsibility. Talk to us about that.
It's been a experience that I won't forget. What I told Datun is it's like a SAE is like a startup business basically for your university. So dealing with that, you have to address the situations like a startup business would. What problems you'll have here? How would you deal with certain situations here? We addressed those, and we knew they would happen. So we would just uh, figure out how we would handle them, do it quickly and efficiently, and that's that's how it's been so far. It's been working out for us lately. Uh, And right now, we just feed off each other. So communication right now is a big thing for us. We've been constantly contacting with each other on just anything. Like if it's just going to the shop and meeting up, we constantly communicate. Communicating to the team is a big thing. We're here to help each other. That's why we decided to do a co-lead this year, because we know how important SAE is and we know how big of a deal it is. So we decided that, two heads are better than one, and we still get help from other people that has led other teams, and they have gave us feedback how things should go, and that's mainly how it's been so far.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds most teams they come in with like one team captain. So I was curious to hear how the two dual leadership was going for you guys. But as you said, the communication's been a key point, and it sounds like you guys are doing a great job with it all. So you guys, we were talking about your budget earlier, and Datun, you told me that your budget did not include for the travel. So talk to me about how do you guys plan to travel to Michigan from Alabama?
As we said about last year, we collaborated with Hebei University in China, and so it was a big hassle for them to ship their car overseas. And I remember getting up there, maybe 2 days before the competition, we had to rush around just to get the car from the port. So this year we're looking at, instead of shipping it up there, we're looking at getting our own trailer to put the car in, and we're probably all gonna ride up there in a van, and so just the lodging and all of that is going to be taken care of our faculty advisor, and of course the money that we get from sponsorship, whatever excess remains, that's going to be put forward into our travel.
Okay, so what made you guys choose to travel to Formula SAE Michigan over Formula SAE Lincoln or Formula SAE North this year?
Yeah, so last year we went to Michigan, so Michigan has just been on our eye from the beginning, and that's what we registered for, and that's what we've been looking at regarding SAE.
So moving on here with some of the other questions we do have, what is the importance of a faculty advisor for your team? Like, what are the benefits of having one?
For with our faculty advisor, he's been very helpful. He's been there since uh, the beginning. He's actually recruited Datun and I to lead SA. So he he's there. He helps us with the technical advice, the business advice. He gave us like mock interview questions to uh, know how the business report would go and the design report and all that. He's been there every step of the way. Dr. Chan, he's a really great guy.
All right, that's great. So you said that Dr. Chan actually recruited the two of you. How did that approach go, and how was that communicated to the both of you?
Yeah, so last year when we were both on the team and we both traveled to Michigan, our past two leaders, Aaliyah Hamilton and Josh Seals, they kind of got their foot in the door leading the team, and they actually led a project here at A&M, the NASA Rover Challenge. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but so they were both over the SAE team and the Rover Challenge team. And so just, I know Dr. Chan, he really thought it was important for individuals to get in that leadership role and see what it takes to lead over a project, lead over a body of individuals. And so after seeing Arby and I last year, he decided that it would be a good idea to have us step up into that leadership role. And so he talked to us about it, I think, right after we got back from Michigan last year. And so ever since then, we've known we're going to be the leaders, and we've been preparing for it over the summer and trying to draw up a plan for how we would approach the competition this year.
With you two being the new leaders and Dr. Chan putting the faith in you two, what are your goals for your team this season then?
Arbion actually came up with a slogan for us back in September, and it's learn, execute, and perform. And that's really the goal, to learn as much as we can through this project with all the tasks that it requires, all the actually hands-on getting in there. Unlike the classroom environment, we actually get to work on this car, do the welding, do the wiring, designing. a lot of it. And so just to learn as much as we can through that, execute to the best of our ability, and then perform well in the competition and just get that experience out there.
That sounds great. That definitely sounds like you guys have your mind in the right place and your goals are broken down pretty properly there. Um, so, how had I know you were speaking earlier about your dean, how he wanted to get this whole program started up for his university. So, tell me, how has your university handled your team, and has there been any obstacles you've had to overcome?
Yeah, so they've been very supportive actually through this whole process, and we've actually come to know that a lot of people are watching us as this is our first year solely competing and building our own car. We know the dean's looking at us, the president of the university is looking at us, and I know they want to make it. They want to make it a big spectacle when we reveal the car, when we have it all complete and finished, when we have our drivers, and right before we head up to Michigan to compete because it'll be a really huge milestone for this school, building our own car, competing in such an event like this. So they've been really supportive, especially with sponsorship, trying to get us out there, trying to make sure all ears are hearing about us. And so this whole process, they've been supportive. They've been very helpful.
Yeah, having the backing of your university is very huge for teams, especially when it comes to trying to acquire those sponsorships and getting your names out there. So, kudos to Alabama A&M University for having your team's back. That's for sure. So, what are some misconceptions, common misconceptions that team might have coming into Formula? You guys came in first year last year, and what are some of the things that may have blindsided your team that you guys weren't expecting to happen? And what are some lessons that your team had to learn the hard way last year?
So one thing we were actually shocked about was the community, because as we said earlier, when we went up there, it's a competition. So I guess you go in there thinking everyone's competing, everyone's working hard on their own car, on their own presentations, and they're trying to get first place. But really, the community up there, the the atmosphere up there was just very helpful, very encouraging. All the teams were, especially we want to thank especially Auburn University and actually Air Force. They gave us some pointers that we're actually using this year, and so going to that competition, it was, as we said, we were nervous going in there, uh, first time, just starting up. And so getting our foot in the door, seeing how open everyone is to joining in and helping around. So that was really a very big point that we took from the competition last year. As to some of the hardships that we learned the hard way, the presentation portion for our perspective was where we learned a lot, where we learned uh, our failures, so to speak, and our strong points. So this year, going to presentations, we're really trying to strengthen that area, strengthen our reports as well, and also as we're building a car, making sure there's no errors in anything that we're doing, making sure this car functions correctly, making sure it's able to compete in all the events. So just going in there, putting our best foot forward, and just trying to compete as hard as we can.
So you were saying one of the common misconceptions or something that may have blindsided you this year is when, or last year, is when you went to the competition. You were kind of expecting it to be a more competitive base, but the end result was you guys ended up learning a lot, being better educated on what exactly is going to be taking place.
It was like a business, a whole business. SA is like a whole business side. We uh, went up there just expecting the competition, everybody being competitive. And like Datun said, we made some great friendships with different universities and even uh, judges at the competition. They judged us hard, but they knew it would help us when we come back next year. And they not offered, but they wanted to see us basically next year. They wanted to see us do better because they know we have the potential to. So that's where I feel like when Datu mentioned the report side, uh, it wasn't more of them just judging us hard and did you did this and did this. It's basically helping us so next year we come back stronger and better. This year, stronger and better.
So for you guys being a rookie team last year, my last question to you guys is, what is the best advice you guys can give to these new teams that are coming on this year?
Start early, pay attention to details, Utilize every resource that you have. Um, be mindful of who you let onto the team because, like I said, this is a startup business. It's basically like a startup business. So you want your business to run as well as possible. You want it to run as efficient as possible. Your work ethic is going to have to change because SAE is not a school year thing. It's from the time the competition ends to the date of the competition. It is a process that will tire you out, but you got to keep going. Uh, and if that's what you want to do, is that if that's how you work, and you'll love it. I know me and Datun are putting in every weekends that we have, every free time that we have, working because there's always something to do. You're not just sitting here for a period of time. So I would say your work ethic is going to have to change if it hasn't already.
And just to add on to what Arbion's saying, one point that I really want to stress is be willing to expand your horizons because it's not just building a car or it's not just giving presentations. Like we said, we have business and engineering specialties on our group. And it's important to know that even though you're not skilled in this area, you don't know much about this area, be willing to learn about it, be willing to put your hands in there, put your foot in the door, and just be willing to learn as much as possible because you never know where you end up in the future and what skills may come into play. So just being able to learn as much as possible and do the best that you can. And just knowing that this competition, like we said, it is a competition, but still it's a learning experience. It looks great on your resume. A lot of companies, when they see that you've been a part of the SAE competition, they'll know what goes into that competition, how much you had to do, and they'll know that whatever industry you're going to go into, whatever your job you're going to have, especially after you graduate, you'll be prepared for it, especially with what this competition has put you through.
Well, I would like to thank you, Datun and Arbion and Alabama A&M University. That is all the questions I have for you guys today.
Well, that was a great conversation with two teams at different phases of their experience level here in the formula competition here. So, Ryan, what did we learn from today?
Well, I met the goal on what to expect. That was the point of this podcast. I wanted to bring two teams in, one being a newer team with Alabama A&M University and one being University of Texas Arlington. I myself, being in my second year with SAE, going into these competitions, I know that there's a lot that can happen and some things you don't see coming. So with speaking with Alabama A&M University, I got to hear, we heard what their budget was and what all goes into this vehicle and the time spent. And you heard it from University of Texas Arlington too, spending 40 to 60 hours a week on this. So as one university said, this is a job, it's a business. And as University of Texas Arlington said, 40, 60 hours, guys. So this is a full-time job for these students. So I was able to learn a lot on the different processes that these teams go through. Some of these things you learn on site with the different team members that they're going to have, but hearing it firsthand and the structure on how they build their teams is it's amazing that the time and work and effort that these students put in and the realization that they come to, as in with formula, is not just a competition. This isn't just I'm going to beat this team or I'm going to do this with my vehicle, but instead it's the learning aspect that these students are able to gather and the different hands-on experiences that they get to have instead of just being at the classroom with a pen and paper in their hands. Instead, they have their hands going into these vehicles and building them from scratch. So just the overall, just listening to what these students and teams go through is just mind-boggling. So.
And of course, we expect to have these teams back here after the season, after we see how everything went too, so we can kind of bookend this a little bit later on.
Yeah, it'll be great to hear how Alabama A&M University does at Formula Michigan, and then to follow up after Formula SAE Lincoln to see how University of Texas Arlington does. Will they be able to hold that top 10 ranking that they had from last year?
A lot riding on the line. It'll be good to hear what's going on there. And of course, please keep an eye on everything going on and stay tuned to FastCast And we'll see you guys next time, and be safe out there. Thanks for listening to Formula SAE FastCast. As always, we want to hear from you, so email us at formulasae@sae.org. The show notes for this episode can be found at www.fsaeonline.com. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next episode.